Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Mama Mudhoni, mom to 1-year-old Mudhoni. Apart from being a mommy and a wife, I'm also a businesswoman and a food blogger. Today I want us to talk about breastfeeding. Sorry. Before I had a baby, I really used to be, should I call it judgmental, about moms who don't breastfeed till the baby is 6 months, or moms who give up in the middle, or generally I just used to think that breastfeeding is such an automatic thing, that you get a child, you get milk, and you breastfeed until the baby is 6 months. And then you get there, or rather I got there, and I realized getting your baby to 6 months, or rather exclusively breastfeeding till the baby is 6 months is a chore. And it takes a lot of dedication and it's hard, and I don't even know what words to use, but I got there. I breastfed my baby until she was, okay, not breastfed. She was fed on breast milk until she was a year. I decided to do that. I wanted to breastfeed her until she was 2 years, but she stopped at 6 months. I'll tell you why later. And then from 6 months to 1 year, I exclusively pumped, and that was Jesus. Anyway, I'll talk about that in another video. It was a lot of work, but I got there. And then at 12 months, I gave her goat milk, which is now what she's taking till now. Anyway, so my breastfeeding journey started when I was actually in labor, or maybe before labor, because when I was around 20 weeks pregnant, or between 20 and 24 weeks pregnant, I realized I had some discharge, and it was yellowish, so I guess it was colostrum. And I got that all through pregnancy. Like if I pressed my nipple, I'd find just a bit of milk. And then when I was in labor, I had a very prolonged and tiring labor. I had labored for almost, is it 48? No, it was more than 48 hours, almost 50 hours. 48 hours is 2 days. I started labor like on a Thursday at 7 p.m. I gave birth midnight, after midnight on Sunday morning. Yeah. Anyway, so on Saturday now, because now my labor was not progressing to active labor, what they call active labor, it was still very early labor, and I'd already been laboring for a day plus. I decided to pump in order to trick my mind that the baby was here. And you know, now when you breastfeed, your uterus contracts even after birth. I'm sure if you breastfed, you felt the contractions when you were breastfeeding. So now what happens is that when you breastfeed, your brain produces oxytocin, which now makes your uterus contract. And now if you have given birth, then your uterus goes back to almost normal size. And if you haven't given birth, then now it triggers labor. I am not a doctor. I am not telling you to do this. I'm just telling you what I did. So I pumped Saturday afternoon when I was still now in early labor. And by 7 p.m. that day, I was in full-blown labor. So I don't know if that helped me get milk, but at that time, I pumped. I didn't save my milk. I didn't even sterilize the things, because now in my mind, I was not pumping for getting milk. I was pumping for to accelerate my labor, and it worked. Anyway, so I don't know if that helped. But now by the time I was giving birth, and the day now, during the day, that morning, I gave birth at midnight on Sunday. By that morning, when the lactation consultants and midwives were coming to check whether I had milk, I had a lot of milk. As in, they just pressed, and there was still a lot, there was a lot of milk coming out. So that's one of the things I did. I don't know whether it helped me with milk, or I just already had milk, or maybe my body just already knew what to do because of prolonged labor. I really don't know whether it helped or not. Sorry, my notes are here. Anyway, so now that helped me now, I think, get milk, or rather I got milk the first day. When I was pregnant, when I used to think about breastfeeding, I used to think it was such an awkward thing. In fact, I remember when my mom brought me my first breastfeeding top, I cried. Like, it was one of those tops where when you open the front part, your breast comes out. And I cried because I just could not imagine how I would feed somebody on my breast. Like, it was so weird to me. But when Mudhoni came, and I held her, I think maybe an hour after surgery, because I ended up in CS. That's a story for another day. So when I held her and I removed my boob, it's like she just knew that this is what's supposed to happen, because she opened her mouth so wide. Like when her dad was giving her to me, her mouth was so wide open, and she just took to the breast and she just breastfed, and I just did not feel like it was anything weird going on. And I think that also maybe helped me and my mind, because it just worked. It just felt natural. And she breastfed well that day, and then we left hospital, I think, after the second day. We went on Sunday. By Tuesday morning, we were being discharged. That first week, I started pumping. And one of the things I find that most moms do, you start pumping when your baby is like 10 weeks or 11 weeks and you're just about to go back to work. I think it's very important for you to start pumping on week 1. Because the first thing is, the more demand there is, the more your body will supply. So if you're only trying to feed your baby and you're not trying to get extra, then that means you're not going to get extra milk. And then in a few weeks, at around 3 or 4 weeks, your baby goes through the first growth spurt, and you probably feel like you do not have enough milk, and it's because your body has just been producing whatever it is that your baby has been taking, and because you've not been making your body make extra, then you feel like you don't have enough milk, and it's a very bad feeling to have. Anyway, I started pumping on week 1. The midwife I had at that time was not very supportive of that decision, but I'm very glad I did. I used to pump every day, and that's how, when my baby was about 3 months old, I traveled for a week and she was still on breast milk the whole time. I left over 10 liters of milk at that time. And when I came back, of course, because when I traveled, I pumped every day. Of course, when you travel, when you're away from your baby, you don't produce as much. I think I came back with about 7 liters or 8 liters, and she had used, I think, about 10 liters during that time. Anyway, so I started pumping the first week, and I know for sure that really helped me with my milk supply, because now from the time I started pumping, I got a lot of milk. Like, I used to stand in the shower and then my milk just pours out, and I used to change my bras like 3 or 4 times a day, and my breast pads as well. And at that time, I did not realize how much of a blessing this was. I didn't complain as such, but I didn't appreciate that I had so much milk, because if I had appreciated it, I think I would have pumped more. Or rather, I didn't know the value of that milk at that time, because I was still a new mom. So I only used to pump 1 time a day. And the book that I was reading, which is Gina Ford for Contented Little Babies, I'll do a review of that book, and that's a book that helped me with Modoni. And by the time she was 2 weeks, she only used to wake up once a night, and by the time she was 5 months, she was sleeping 12 hours a night. Anyway, so the Gina Ford book had instructions of how to go about with your day, and one of the instructions was pump in the morning and only pump 125 ml. In retrospect, I would have pumped, I think, even 250 ml in the morning. I should have pumped more. I would have kept more, and of course now by the time my baby was refusing breast milk at 6 months, I would have had less pressure to produce milk and to pump milk as I had now, when now she stopped breastfeeding. Anyway, so my first tip there is pump early. Pump from week 1. Pump and store, especially if you're going back to work and you plan to go back to work. Don't start pumping when your baby is 2 months or almost 3 months and it's almost time to go back to work. You will not be able to keep up at all, and you're going to be stressed with work. You're going to be stressed now that your baby is not getting enough milk, and life just happens, and your milk will definitely go down. Anyway, another tip that of course everyone is told is to take lots and lots of fluids. So I used to take milk for calcium because of my bones and my back. I used to take soup as well for calcium, and as in soup has a lot of things. Soup and uji. I used to take, at least try and take 1 cup of the 2 cups. So either milk, soup, uji. So I would alternate. But most days, I think at the beginning, I used to have uji. Uji is porridge, for those who don't know. And it's not porridge like oats. It's porridge made from maybe millet and a mix of other things. Eat well. Try and eat natural foods. Terere, managus, lots of veggies. And then also, if your baby has colic, try and find out exactly what might be causing not colic, let's call it gas, because those are 2 different things. If your baby is having issues with gas, try and find out exactly what it is. Like now, my sister-in-law actually found out that one of the things that was disturbing her baby was things like ngwashe and ndoma, as in whoever thought something like that would affect her baby. Ngwashe is sweet potatoes, ndoma is, no, not cassava, ndoma is arrowroots. As in things that you'd never imagine would affect a child can actually affect your child. Thank God, Modoni, I was never really affected by anything apart from githeri. I once had githeri, and we both had a really bad gas, so I never had githeri again for a very, very long time. So I know I used to eat quite well, and I also used to take a lot of water. Unfortunately, because of all these things that I was eating and all these things that I was drinking, I really can't tell you what exactly in terms of food was working for me or what made me produce more milk at the beginning. But anything that you hear people say gives milk, I ate. I ate chapos. In fact, my mother was very convinced that chapo gives milk, so she used to make for me a lot of chapo. I had a lot of things like bananas, matoke, not bananas. Bananas. I didn't like jahe until much later when my auntie showed me how to make jahe with ripe bananas. So that one I took maybe when a baby was about 2 months. But basically anything that you hear traditionally gives milk, I took. I took lots of water, so I can't really tell you exactly what worked and what didn't work. Another thing that I went through was hunger and exhaustion. Like I used to feel so hungry, oh my god. Like hunger that you can't even explain. And I also used to crave sugar a lot. And I never had cravings as such during my pregnancy. So I never really understood this sugar craving. And unfortunately, because of the sugar craving, I ate a lot of Oreos. In retrospect, I should not have done that. I should have bought maybe dates or things like that, because I lost a lot of weight during my pregnancy, maybe 10 kilos or something, because I gave birth lighter than what I was when I started. Like a kilo lighter. Yeah, 3 kilos lighter actually than my pre-pregnancy weight. Anyway, so when you're hungry, try and eat healthy foods. Try and find things that are actually going to help you with milk or help your body in a certain way. Like for me, I ate a lot of Oreos because I was really craving a lot of sugar. What I should have done is eaten dates, because dates now are going to help me with breast milk. Dates are actually galactogens, is that the word? Dates also help you ripen your cervix at the end of your pregnancy. And I had lots of dates, but I don't know why I never thought of eating dates. I just used to eat Oreos. Later is when I started eating dates. Actually, when I found out that the hunger and the cravings that you have are not really hunger and cravings, they're actually your body looking for energy. Does that make sense? So basically what I'm saying is, later on when I was really reading about this exhaustion and hunger that you feel when you're breastfeeding, I was trying to understand why I was always hungry. So what I learned from Google, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a researcher, but what I learned from Google and now what I decided to believe is that when you're waking up so many times a night, and even if you're waking up once, because I used to wake up once, my body was still not used to that. I slept all through my pregnancy. I'd wake up like 5 times to pee, but in 2 minutes I was knocked out. But I wasn't used to that thing of waking up for 30 minutes. And at the beginning, my baby used to wake up sometimes for an hour, like the first week or the first 2 weeks before I put her on the program. So your body is so tired and your mind is so tired, and your mind is now trying to get energy to make up for the exhaustion that you have. And the only way your body knows how to make up for that energy and for that exhaustion, how it knows how to get extra energy, is through food and through carbs and through sugar. So when I learned that, I sort of tried to change my eating habits, but it was a bit too late already. But yeah, so try and eat healthy. When you're carrying food to your bedroom, carry a banana, carry dates, carry things like those. Don't make the same mistake I did. The other thing I had now with my baby, I had flat nipples. But I thank God that a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I was going to see a gyna. The gyna saw my nipples. I don't even remember why he was looking at my nipples. Maybe I was just telling him to check if I had lumps. Like, those things when you just go to the gyna and you just tell them to check. Anywho, he saw that I had flat nipples. So he asked me whether that's how my nipples always are or it's something new. I didn't know my nipples had a problem. I don't go around looking at other women's nipples. So for me, my nipples were just normal. So he told me that my nipples are flat and I'm going to have very many problems when I'm breastfeeding. And the only way to get over that is to just slowly pull and pull and pull my nipple. So that was maybe 3 years ago, way before I decided I'm going to have a baby. So when I used to remember, I'd pull my nipple. As in, you just take the nipple, the tip of the nipple, and just slightly tug and slightly tug and slightly tug. And I did that slowly and slowly and slowly over the years. Now when I found out I was pregnant, all through my pregnancy, I pulled and pulled and pulled my nipples. So by the time Modoni was coming, my nipple was a bit outside. I wouldn't say that my nipple is a normal, I don't know what normal is, but whatever. Like if you go on Google and check nipple shapes, it will show you what most people's nipples look like. The breast is like that, and then the nipple comes out. And then if it's flat, it's just either like that, and then inverted is inside. Anyway, so because of the whole pulling and pulling and pulling, and all through my pregnancy, I never gave up and never stopped. At least now I didn't have a problem breastfeeding with only because of flat nipples. I've spoken to very many ladies who have flat nipples, and most of them say, oh, I pulled for 3 months or 2 months and nothing changed. I would just encourage you to just keep pulling and pull and pull and pull and pull, even for years. It will help you in the end, because I know it's such a problem. And I hear that it's very, 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 very extremely painful when you have flat nipples and you're trying to breastfeed. I also know that in the market there are things, I think they're called nipple shields, that you can put on your nipple. So now when the baby is pulling, sucking the milk, they suck on the plastic. It's like a silicone. It's very soft silicone. And that way your nipple doesn't get affected and it doesn't get cracked, or it doesn't get more painful. That also works if you have... Sorry, my phone did magic. Anyway, so I was saying that also works if you have cracked nipples. If you have cracked nipples, you can wear the nipple sheet on your nipple, and then now the baby will not be sucking directly on your nipple, and that way it will not be as painful. Modoni woke up, as you can hear, before, or rather now when I thought I'd finished and I hadn't finished because my phone acted up. Anyway, so also when you breastfeed, it's very important that you apply your breast milk after each and every feed. So each time your baby breastfeeds, press your milk. When you get a bit of milk, apply around your nipple, and that will help your nipple heal. And this you should do whether or not... Mama, this you will do whether or not you... This you will do whether or not your breasts are painful, whether they're cracked or not. Each and every feed, just remove some breast milk and apply it around. This is also better than using lanolin cream. I know lanolin cream is said to be safe, and of course because of years of research they've shown that it's safe, but with breast milk you don't need to worry. This is what your baby drinks all the time, and because of that, as in, you don't even need to worry about whether now 10 years from now they're going to come back and say lanolin was not safe. So just apply the milk, and sometimes also just stay without a bra, without a top, and just let your boobs air dry. Don't use Vaseline, don't use anything that's petroleum based, Vaseline, Arimis, all those things. Don't use that, because each time that you breastfeed, then now you have to wipe your nipple with maybe probably warm water to make sure that it's completely out, because these things again are not safe for your baby. You can also use coconut oil, you can use olive oil, just to make sure that the place stays nice and like moisturized, so that it doesn't dry out and crack. Also, just expect that at some point your boob will peel. I think that happens to everyone. I've yet to meet somebody who said that the outer layer doesn't peel. So if your nipple is generally normally dark, at some point it's going to peel out and it's going to be more pink than dark, and that's normal. For me, it wasn't painful. I don't know if for other people it's painful. Was it painful for you? Please let us know. Then the other thing is save milk. As in, even if you're going to pump and get 10 ml, save it. If you're going to pump and get 20 ml, save it. In fact, I remember one time later, like when I was now exclusively pumping, there's a time I pumped and got 20 ml. And my hubby laughed at me, and he was like, "Sasa ni mazi yako kwa karatasi, si ukunywe tu badala kwa karatasi, labda ukikunywa to get more milk." And we really laughed about it. Basically what he said is, that's very little milk, so you just drink it instead of now putting it in a paper. And we laughed about it, and I just told him it's fine, me, I'll just save it, tomorrow I'll get more. And it will also help when now maybe you have an 80 ml somewhere, 100 ml somewhere, and you're trying to get 120, you can just layer it. Also, when you have a lot of milk, sometimes you don't value that maybe later you won't have as much milk. And I remember when my auntie came, I really hope I'm not repeating this story because I don't remember where I said what, but my auntie came to visit me when my baby was around 4 weeks, and I still had a lot of milk. And I remember showing her and pressing and saying, "I still have a lot of milk." And Nyawera flipped. She was like, "Why are you wasting milk?" That was like not even a teaspoon, it was like 3 drops. "Why are you wasting milk? This milk is gold. You're really going to value it soon. You're really going to wonder where all this milk went. You really need to save all the milk. You don't know what's going to happen in 2 or 3 weeks or in 3 months. You need to save everything that you get." And of course, at that time, I didn't understand the value of what she was telling me until now, the point where I was exclusively pumping when my baby was after 6 months. And in retrospect, I should have saved everything. I should have pumped more. I should have been pumping 3 or 4 times a day because I had the milk. And I didn't value the milk that I had. In my mind, I didn't see how maybe 6 or 8 months later I'd be struggling to get milk. In my mind, I didn't imagine that 6 months later Modoni was going to completely refuse to get milk. I didn't imagine in my mind that when my Modoni was 6 or 7 months, she would stop breastfeeding and I would not have the strength to get her back on the boob. She had also refused at around 10 to 12 weeks. I got her back on the boob. I think I mentioned this before. I'm going to talk about that in another post. And I wish I just saved and saved and saved and saved more. When your baby is unwell, just pump. You will notice that your milk will change when your baby is unwell. Like if your baby has a cold or anything is wrong with your baby, your milk becomes really thick and really heavy, because now your body knows that it needs to create extra nutrients and it needs to create antibodies for your baby. And that's, I think, the most amazing thing about breast milk. I saw something on Instagram the other day, and a lady was saying that she doesn't understand why in 2018 we are still trying to debate about breast milk and formula and bottle-fed babies and all these things. And the truth of the matter is, breast milk is superior. Like, there's no question about it. It's not something you can even go to court and try and argue. Like, breast milk is amazing. But in as much as breast milk is amazing and breast is best, there's also what I believe myself, that a fed child, fed is best. It doesn't matter how you feed your child. If at the end of the day your baby is fed, at the end of the day as a mom you're psychologically okay, because also breastfeeding can really be psychologically tasking, and sometimes there are women who are not able to handle all the emotional pressure, and sometimes your body is not able to withstand the physical pressure. Sometimes your body is not able to produce, as in things happen and sometimes you're not able to breastfeed, or things happen and sometimes you choose not to breastfeed, and that's okay, because at the end of the day it's your choice as a mom. And if you choose not to breastfeed, that's okay. If your body has refused to work, that's okay. But at the end of the day, breast milk cannot be compared to formula. Breast milk is made for your child. The breast milk I produced was made for Modhoni. And if I had another child called Jane, that my milk would be made for that child. And that's why also sometimes you'll find that when you have twins, you're told to breastfeed from different breasts, because your body knows how to produce milk for that exact child. For example, if you have a boy, your milk will have more calories than when you have a girl, because boys need more calories than girls. And also research shows that moms of girls actually produce more milk than moms of boys. I don't know where this thing of boys breastfeed more came from. Maybe when I get a boy, I'll understand it. But research shows that in terms of volume, moms of girls produce more milk, because moms of boys produce heavier milk, because boys need heavier milk. As in, how amazing is our body that it knows exactly that? How is it that how amazing is that our body, when I'm unwell, for example, and I'm breastfeeding, my body knows that it's now supposed to create antibodies for my child, so that my child does not get the cold that I have, or that whatever disease, if it's communicable, my body knows that it needs to create antibodies so that my child can get antibodies for this disease and not be able to catch whatever it is that is there. And also now, like, I don't know if I mentioned about twins. Twins, normally you breastfeed one from here and one from here, because if this is Jane and this is Mary, Jane and Mary have different nutritional needs. And if I put Jane here and Mary here, my body will produce different breast milk. If I'm consistent in the side that I put them, my body will produce different milk for each child, suited for that child. Formula doesn't do that. Formula feeds thousands and millions of children, and it's created for thousands and millions of children, and which is okay. But breast milk is just, God is amazing. I hope you get me. And I'm not judging formula feeding moms. You're still amazing. Formula milk still works, and it's still okay. A fed child is best. I repeat that. So I was saying pump more when the baby is unwell, because now this milk that has been produced when, I know what she's looking for. This milk that has been produced when the child is unwell is thicker and has more nutrients and has more antibodies. So now next time your child is maybe coming down with something, you can feed them with this milk, and it will be good for them. Introduce the bottle at 4 to 6 weeks. The reason for this is that I find that most moms try and introduce the bottle when your baby is around 11 weeks or 10 weeks, just before they go back to work, and this child is already so used to the breast, and it now becomes hard for them to now be introduced to the bottle. So what I did with Modhoni, I introduced the bottle at 4 weeks, or maybe just a few days to 4 weeks, and the dad took over the 10 p.m. feed, not 10 p.m. feed, and that gave me a longer rest period, because now from 7 to maybe around 3 or 4, I could sleep. I didn't, but I could sleep, I could rest. And it was really good for me psychologically, and I was less exhausted actually after I introduced the bottle. Also, when you introduce the bottle, make sure it's a nipple size 0 or nipple size 1. I have heard of pediatricians who tell parents to change the nipple size to a bigger nipple size or whatever it is that's recommended in terms of age. Do not do that. Always remember that your pediatrician is supposed to give you medical advice. Your pediatrician has no business giving you parenting advice. And things like bottles is a parenting advice, and he or she has no business telling you what to do with that. Ask a lactation consultant. If you're still planning to continue breastfeeding your child, and by breastfeeding I mean putting your child on your boob to feed them, do not increase your nipple size to more than a size 1. This is because it's really hard for a child to breastfeed. Like, it takes a lot of energy from them to breastfeed. Now, when you introduce a bottle is easier. Even a size 0 nipple is still easier to use than your breast. So now if you give a child size 2, it becomes too easy for them. Anyway, I think I'll talk about this in another video when I talk about how Muthoni stopped breastfeeding and my exclusive pumping journey after that, because that's a mistake I made. Anyway, so do not change your nipple size. Use a size 0. They're normally called newborn. Some of them are called preemie, and a size 1. Size 0, size 1. Don't use more than that. And introduce at 4 to 6 weeks. Also at 6 weeks, your body will naturally reduce the amount of milk it produces. This is because when you first give birth, your body produces a lot of milk. I'm talking about what is supposed to happen. It does not always happen, but what is supposed to happen is your body is supposed to produce a lot of milk because it has no idea how much your child needs. So now, your child has been using, say, 500 or 1000 ml a day, and your body has been producing 1500 ml a day. So by 6 weeks, your body, or rather your mind, knows exactly how much your body has been using, and to reduce wastage and to reduce the impact on your body, because it takes a lot for your body to produce milk, it now reduces the milk that it produces to exactly what you need. And that is why it is also important to start pumping early, because after 6 weeks, your milk will reduce. And if your milk has reduced to just what your baby has been using or needing, and then when you start pumping later, you're going to struggle a bit. So just remember that you need to start pumping early, and also remember that at 6 weeks, biologically, your milk will go down, and don't panic when that happens. As long as you've been pumping, it's going to be fine. If you've not been pumping, it's also going to be fine, because at least you're producing exactly what your baby needs. The only issue will come now when you want to start pumping, or also when your baby is going through a growth spurt, because most times during growth spurts, babies need more milk. So you might struggle a bit during that time, but all is not lost. Even after 6 weeks, you can still find or look for ways to increase the amount of breast milk you produce, and it will still work. It will take a bit of time and patience, but it will still work. Also at 12 weeks, most times milk also reduces, because at this point, most moms go back to work, and even if you don't go back to work, you've started leaving the house, and when you're not with your child as much, naturally, of course, your milk will go down. Milk is produced because of the bonding with your child, having your child near you, the child being on the breast, and all these things. So now when you go back to work and you have to deal with traffic, you have to deal with, I'm really sorry guys about the noise. You have to deal with traffic, you have to deal with deadlines at work, you don't have time to pump maybe every 2 or 3 hours, your milk will tend to go down. But don't panic, just try and pump regularly. Like for me, what I used to do, but thank God I'm self-employed, I used to pump every 4 hours. If you can do this at work, try and do it maybe at 10 and at 3 o'clock, and now do a longer pump session, and all is not lost. I really hope this video has been informative to you. The next video that I'm going to do, I'll be talking about how I got Muthoni to breastfeed again, because she stopped breastfeeding at around 10 to 12 weeks. She went through a breastfeeding strike. So I'm going to talk about that in my next video. Please let us know about what your breastfeeding journey was like. Comment below. Tell us about your journey. Was it easy? Was it hard? What worked for you? What didn't work for you? What do you feel you're going to do with the next baby? And second born's like amazing. Like I can't wait for my second born. I feel like it's a whole new list of life to correct all the mistakes that I made with Muthoni, and that now that I'm wise, I feel like I'm going to do a lot better. So what do you think you're going to do better for your next baby? Or what did you do better for your second born? Let's talk. Let's have a conversation. And make sure you just comment and write, because maybe something that you write is going to help somebody else, is going to help me. And I think that's what this forum is all about, helping each other. And just remember, you're doing great, mama. Until next time, remember to like this video, give it a thumbs up, share it widely, like my Facebook, my Instagram, my Twitter at the Mothership KE. And see you next time, guys. Also, let me know what type of videos that you'd like me, what type of topics you'd like me to